What if I told you that every dollar you've ever chased, every opportunity you've desperately sought, and every financial dream you've held onto was never really out there at all? What if the wealth you're searching for has been sitting inside your mind this entire time, waiting for you to simply unlock it? I know that sounds almost impossible, maybe even ridiculous, but stay with me, because what you're about to discover in the next few minutes could completely shift how you think about money, success, and your own potential forever. You see, there's something that the world's wealthiest individuals understand that most people never learn. It's not about working harder, it's not about finding the perfect investment, and it's definitely not about waiting for your lucky break. The truth is far more powerful and far more accessible than any of that. The real source of wealth isn't in your bank account, it isn't in the stock market, and it isn't even in some golden opportunity that hasn't arrived yet. The true source of wealth is your mind, your thoughts, and the way you've trained yourself to think about abundance. Now, before we dive deeper into this extraordinary concept, I want to ask you something. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the globe. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Trust me, what we're exploring today is just the beginning of a journey that could transform your entire relationship with money. Here's where it gets really interesting. There exists a rare book, one that millionaires and billionaires keep hidden like a secret treasure. They don't talk about it at dinner parties, they don't recommend it in interviews, and they certainly don't advertise it to the masses. Why? Because this book reveals something so powerful, so transformative, that those who understand it gain an almost unfair advantage in creating wealth. This isn't some get-rich-quick scheme or fantasy thinking. This is about understanding the fundamental laws of how concentrated, focused thought can literally attract money into your life through pure mental power. Has this ever happened to you? You think about a bill that's due, you stress about it, you focus all your energy on the fear of not having enough, and somehow more financial problems seem to appear? That's not coincidence. That's your mind at work, creating exactly what you're focusing on. But here's the incredible part. The same principle works in reverse. When you shift your mental focus, when you train your mind to think from a place of abundance rather than scarcity, when you truly understand that wealth begins as an internal state before it ever becomes an external reality, everything changes. The question isn't whether you have the ability to create wealth. You absolutely do. The question is whether you're ready to challenge everything you've been taught about, where money comes from and how it flows. Because once you understand that your mind is the true source, once you grasp that your thoughts are literally shaping your financial reality every single day, you'll never look at a bank statement the same way again. What you're about to discover might surprise you, because we're going to explore exactly how this mental transformation happens. And, more importantly, how you can start applying it today to see real, tangible results in your financial life. Think about this for a moment. There's a reason why this concept has been called the magic of believing. And it's not just some catchy title designed to sell books. It's actually a code, a hidden formula that's been passed down through generations of people who understood something fundamental about how reality actually works. This isn't magic in the fairy tale sense. It's magic in the sense that it feels impossible until you experience it yourself. It's a mirror that reflects back to you your true potential, the potential that's been sitting dormant inside you all this time, waiting for the right trigger to wake it up. Now here's where most people get stuck, and I see this pattern everywhere I look. You probably know someone who works incredibly hard. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's a family member or a close friend. They put in the hours, they sacrifice their time, they push themselves to the limit day after day, and yet the financial results never seem to match the effort. They're exhausted, frustrated, and confused about why success keeps slipping through their fingers. And here's the hidden truth that nobody talks about in schools or corporate training programs. Hard work alone has never been the real key to wealth. Never. The real reason why some people struggle their entire lives despite tremendous effort, while others seem to effortlessly attract opportunities. And abundance isn't about intelligence, education, or even luck. It's about something far more fundamental. It's about how their minds have been programmed from childhood. Most of us were never taught how to think in a way that creates wealth. Instead, we were taught to think in ways that actually repel it. We absorbed limiting beliefs from our parents, our teachers, our culture, beliefs like money doesn't grow on trees, or you have to work hard for every penny, or rich people are greedy. These aren't just harmless sayings. They're mental viruses that infect your subconscious mind and sabotage every attempt you make to build real prosperity. What happens is this: your conscious mind sets a goal. You say you want to earn more money, build a successful business, achieve financial freedom. But deep down in your subconscious, there's a conflicting program running in the background, one that whispers you're not good enough, that money is scarce, that success is for other people, but not for you. And guess which program wins? The subconscious always wins because it's operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, shaping your decisions, your actions, your very perception of what's possible. This is the invisible barrier that keeps hard-working people trapped in cycles of financial struggle, and most of them never even realize it exists. The transformation begins the moment you understand that your mind isn't just observing your life, it's actively creating it. Every thought you think, every belief you hold, every mental image you replay in your head is sending out signals that shape what shows up in your physical reality. Your current bank account balance isn't a reflection of how hard you work. It's a reflection of what you deeply believe you deserve and what you've been unconsciously programming yourself to expect. This is why two people can have the same opportunities, the same resources, even the same starting point, and end up in completely different financial situations. The difference isn't in their circumstances, the difference is in their minds. Now, I want to go even deeper into this because understanding the problem is only the first step. The real breakthrough happens when you learn exactly how to reprogram your mind, how to identify and eliminate those limiting beliefs, and how to install new mental patterns that automatically attract wealth instead of pushing it away. If what I'm sharing right now is resonating with you, if you're starting to see how your own thoughts might have been working against you, write in the comments, "I'm ready to reprogram my mind." So let's talk about something that might sound simple on the surface, but holds extraordinary power once you truly grasp it. Your mind is far more powerful than anyone ever taught you. Think about it. From the moment you were born, you've been conditioned to believe that your thoughts are just random mental chatter, fleeting ideas that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Your thoughts aren't passive observations of reality. They're active forces that shape, mold, and create the world you experience every single day. When you begin to consciously affirm statements like, "My mind creates my wealth," something remarkable happens behind the scenes in your neurology. You're not just saying pretty words to make yourself feel better. You're actually issuing a command to your subconscious mind, telling it to search for and recognize opportunities that align with that statement. You're redirecting the massive processing power of your brain away from scarcity thinking and toward abundance thinking. This is the beginning of real transformation. The moment when you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start becoming the architect of your financial destiny. Here's what most people don't understand about this process. Your thoughts aren't just random electrical impulses firing in your brain. They carry energy, they have frequency, and they interact with the world around you in ways that science is only beginning to measure and understand. Every thought you think acts like a magnet, attracting experiences, people, and opportunities that match its frequency. When you think thoughts of lack, limitation, and fear, you're broadcasting a signal that draws more of those experiences into your life. But when you shift your mental focus to abundance, possibility, and confidence, you begin attracting an entirely different set of circumstances. This is where the real journey begins, where you stop being a passive receiver of whatever life throws at you and start becoming a conscious creator. Your thoughts transform from idle daydreams into actual commands, instructions that your subconscious mind takes seriously and works tirelessly to fulfill. Think of it this way. Your subconscious is like an incredibly loyal servant that never questions your orders. If you constantly tell it through your thoughts that money is hard to come by, it will find ways to make that true for you. If you tell it that opportunities are everywhere and wealth flows naturally to you, it will start revealing those opportunities that were always there but invisible to you before. The hidden truth is that wealthy people aren't just lucky or born with special advantages. They've discovered, whether consciously or unconsciously, how to use their minds as precision tools for creating the results they want. They understand that thoughts aren't just ideas floating around in their heads. Thoughts are seeds, and when you plant them with intention, water them with emotion, and nurture them with consistent focus, they grow into tangible results in your physical reality. This is the foundation of what some call the law of attraction, but it's not mystical or supernatural. It's simply understanding how your mind works and learning to direct it with purpose. If this resonates with you, and you want to continue exploring how your mind creates wealth, hit that subscribe button. I'm here sharing these principles because they work, and there's so much more depth we're going to dive into together. The impact of this revelation cannot be overstated. Once you truly internalize that your thoughts are magnets and that you have the power to choose what you think about, your entire relationship with money changes. You stop waiting for external circumstances to improve. You stop blaming the economy, your boss, your education, or your background. Instead, you take full responsibility for the mental patterns you've been running and make the conscious decision to install new ones. This is mental discipline in its purest form. The practice of monitoring your thoughts throughout the day and deliberately choosing ones that serve your highest financial goals. Now let me share something crucial about how this actually works in practice. It's not enough to just think positive thoughts once. In a while, when you remember to do it, the transformation happens through repetition and consistency. Every time you catch yourself thinking a limiting thought about money and consciously replace it with an empowering one, you're rewiring neural pathways in your brain. You're literally changing the structure of your mind, creating new mental highways that make abundant thinking your default mode rather than something you have to force. If you're beginning to see how powerful this really is, drop a comment below and simply write, "My thoughts create my reality." There's something I need you to understand right now, and it's probably the most important revelation in this entire conversation. You didn't arrive here by accident. You didn't click on this video randomly or stumble upon these ideas by chance. There's a reason you're watching right now, and that reason is simple. Something deep inside you is calling for more. More freedom, more peace of mind, more financial security, more abundance. That desire isn't something to be ashamed of or to minimize. That desire is actually the starting point of everything that's about to unfold in your life. Most people suppress that desire. They tell themselves they should be grateful for what they have, which is true, but they confuse gratitude with settling. They mistake acceptance of their current situation for acceptance of their current limitations. But that restless feeling inside you, that knowing that there's more available to That's not greed or selfishness. That's your inner self, recognizing its true potential and asking you to step into it. That desire is the seed from which your entire financial transformation will grow, and acknowledging it honestly, without guilt or justification, is the very first step toward manifestation. Here's where this gets really profound. Your mind isn't just a tool you use to navigate the world. It's actually a spiritual operations center, a command station that's constantly broadcasting signals and receiving feedback from the universe around you. Everything you think in private, every belief you hold in the quiet moments when nobody's watching, every conviction you carry in the depths of your consciousness, all of that is being translated into your public reality. This is why two people can go through the exact same training, follow the exact same business plan, take the exact same actions, and get completely different results. The difference isn't in what they're doing. The difference is in what they're thinking and feeling while they're doing it. The cause of wealth has never been external. It's never been about having the right connections, being in the right place at the right time, or getting lucky breaks. Those things can help, sure, but they're not the cause. The true cause of wealth lives in your mind, specifically in what you feel to be true with absolute conviction. Not what you hope might be true, not what you wish were true, but what you feel in your bones is true about yourself and about money. If deep down you feel that money is scarce, that you have to struggle for every dollar, that wealthy people are somehow different from you, then no amount of hard work or strategy will override that core conviction. Your external results will always mirror your internal beliefs. This is the hidden mechanism behind everything you've experienced financially up to this point. Every financial setback, every missed opportunity, every time money seemed to slip through your fingers. It wasn't bad luck or poor timing. It was your subconscious mind faithfully executing the program you'd installed, the program that said on some level you weren't ready for that level of wealth or didn't truly believe you deserved it. But here's the beautiful part. The same mechanism that's been working against you can be redirected to work for you. Once you understand that your mind is the control center, once you grasp that what you feel with conviction becomes your reality, you can start deliberately choosing new convictions. The journey from where you are now to where you want to be isn't about learning complex financial strategies or finding secret opportunities. It's about making a fundamental shift in what you believe to be true about yourself and money. It's about recognizing that the limitations you've experienced weren't imposed on you by the world, but were accepted by you in your mind. And anything that was accepted can be rejected. Anything that was learned can be unlearned. This is where your power lives, not in changing your circumstances, but in changing the beliefs that created those circumstances in the first place. The transformation happens the moment you stop looking outside yourself for the source of wealth and start recognizing it within. When you understand that your thoughts in private are creating your experiences in public, you become incredibly selective about what you allow yourself to think. You stop entertaining limiting beliefs. You stop replaying past failures. You stop focusing on what's lacking and start focusing on what you're creating. If this is making sense to you and you're ready to shift your internal convictions, write in the comments, "I choose new beliefs about wealth." Now let me reveal something that's going to completely change how you approach creating wealth. There's an actual formula here, a precise mental technology that's been used by successful people throughout history, often without them even realizing what they were doing. It's not mysticism, it's not wishful thinking, and it's definitely not some feel-good philosophy that sounds nice, but doesn't work. This is a law, as reliable and predictable as gravity, and once you understand how to apply it, your results become inevitable. The formula has three distinct components that work together like a chemical reaction. First, you must think with intensity, not casual daydreaming, not passive hoping, but Focused, concentrated thought that commands your full attention. This means creating a crystal-clear mental picture of the wealth you want to experience. The specific amount of money, the lifestyle, the freedom, all of it rendered in vivid detail in your mind. Second, you must feel with faith. This isn't about forcing yourself to feel good or pretending everything's fine when it's not. It's about cultivating a deep, unshakable knowing that what you're visualizing is already yours in the realm of potential, and it's simply making its way into physical form. Third, and this is where most people fail, you must hold that image as a mental reality until it manifests in the physical world. Not for a day, not for a week, but for as long as it takes, treating that mental image as if it were already real. This is mental technology in its purest form. When you apply this formula correctly, you're not just hoping for results, you're engineering them. You're working with fundamental laws of consciousness that govern how ideas become things, how invisible potential becomes visible reality. Every single thing you can see or touch right now in your physical environment started as an invisible thought in someone's mind. The chair you're sitting on, the device you're watching this on, the building you're in, all of it was first conceived internally before it could be created externally. Nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, can come into your experience that you haven't first conceived in your consciousness. Look at your bank account right now. Whether you like what you see or not, that number is a perfect projection of your internal beliefs about money, about your worth, about what you deserve, and about what's possible for you. It's not a reflection of your intelligence or your work ethic. It's a reflection of your dominant mental patterns. If you've been thinking thoughts of limitation, if you've been feeling anxiety about money, if you've been holding images of struggle and scarcity in your mind, then your bank account is simply showing you the external result of that internal programming. But here's what's so empowering about this. If your current financial situation is a projection of your past thinking, then your future financial situation will be a projection of your current thinking. Change the projection and you change the outcome. The impact of truly understanding this cannot be overstated. Most people are living in a reactive state, constantly responding to their external circumstances and wondering why things never seem to improve. They're looking at their bank account and feeling discouraged, which creates more discouraging thoughts, which creates more discouraging results. It's a vicious cycle that feeds on itself. But when you grasp that everything external is merely a reflection of something internal, you break that cycle completely. You stop giving your power away to circumstances and you start exercising your true power, the power to choose what you think, what you feel, and what you hold in your mental vision. This is the revelation that separates those who create wealth from those who chase it endlessly. The creators understand that the work happens inside first. They spend time crafting their mental images with precision. They cultivate feelings of abundance even before the money arrives. They treat their desired reality as already accomplished in their minds, and they hold that vision with unwavering faith until the physical world has no choice but to conform to it. This isn't magic. It's mechanics, the mechanics of how consciousness interacts with matter, how thoughts solidify into things, how the invisible becomes visible through the power of sustained mental focus. If you're starting to see how this formula applies to your life, let me know in the comments by writing, "I'm creating from the inside out." Here's something that might feel uncomfortable to hear, but it's absolutely essential that you understand it. The same power that exists in your mind right now, the power you're using to process these words, to form thoughts, to create mental images, that exact same power can either build empires or keep you trapped in poverty for the rest of your life. There's no middle ground here. Your mind is either working for you or against you, creating abundance or creating limitation, opening doors or closing them. The choice of which direction that power flows is entirely up to you, and today might be the day you finally decide to redirect it. Think about how much energy you've spent being afraid of money. Afraid it won't come, afraid it will run out, afraid you'll make the wrong decisions with it, afraid of what people will think if you have too much or too little. That fear is like a poison that seeps into every financial decision you make, every opportunity you consider, every dream you allow yourself to imagine. Fear creates contraction. It makes you play small. It keeps you in survival mode instead of creation mode. But what would happen if you made a decision right now to break that cycle completely? What would happen if you stopped living in fear of money and started living in expectation of abundance? If something clicked for you during this video, if you felt that shift in understanding, go ahead and hit the like button. It tells me this message landed, and it helps others who need to hear this find their way here. The transformation from fear to faith isn't a one-time event. It's a practice, a discipline, something you cultivate day by day through conscious decisions about where you place your attention. This is where sustained thought becomes absolutely critical. You see, having a positive thought about money once in a while, when you're feeling motivated, doesn't create lasting change. What creates change is sustained, clear, emotionalized thought that you maintain consistently over time. This is the key that opens those invisible doors in the universe, the ones you can't see with your physical eyes, but that lead to opportunities, connections, and resources you never knew existed. When you maintain a frequency of abundance, when you consistently hold thoughts of wealth combined with genuine emotion and unwavering faith, something remarkable begins to happen. Money starts flowing to you in ways that seem almost magical, completely unpredictable, from sources you never anticipated. A business opportunity appears out of nowhere. Someone offers you a partnership you weren't looking for. An investment pays off in ways you didn't expect. A skill you developed casually suddenly becomes valuable. These aren't coincidences. They're the natural result of aligning your mental frequency with the frequency of abundance. The hidden truth behind this process is that the universe operates on vibration and resonance. Everything in existence, including money, carries a specific energetic signature. When your thoughts are scattered, inconsistent, or dominated by fear and doubt, you're broadcasting a signal that repels abundance. But when you discipline your mind to maintain sustained focus on wealth, combined with the emotion of already having it and the faith that it's on its way, you become a magnet for financial opportunities. Your mental state literally changes what you notice, what you attract, and what becomes possible in your life. This is why consistency matters so much more than intensity. You could have the most powerful, emotionally charged visualization session once a month, and it would do almost nothing for you. But if you spend just 10 minutes every single day holding clear mental images of abundance, feeling the emotions of financial freedom, and maintaining faith that it's already yours, you'll see results that seem miraculous to outside observers. Behind the scenes, what's really happening is that you're rewiring your brain, retraining your subconscious, and aligning your entire being with a new financial reality. The journey from where you are to where you want to be isn't measured in how much action you take or how many hours you work. It's measured in how consistently you maintain the right mental frequency. Every time you catch yourself slipping into fear or doubt and consciously redirect your thoughts toward abundance and possibility, you're strengthening that new mental pathway. Every time you choose faith over fear, every time you hold your vision despite contradictory circumstances, you're building the internal foundation that will eventually manifest as external wealth. If you're committed to maintaining this frequency and breaking free from fear-based thinking, drop a comment and write, "I sustain my vision of abundance." Now let me address something that stops more people than almost anything else on this journey. You're probably wondering right now how all of this is actually going to work in your specific situation. How will the money come? What opportunities will appear? What's the exact path from where you are to where you want to be? And here's the liberating truth that changes everything. You don't need to know. In fact, trying to figure out the how is one of the biggest obstacles to receiving wealth. Your job isn't to map out every step of the journey. Your job is simply to know what you desire with absolute clarity and maintain that vision with unshakable firmness. This is where most people get stuck in analysis paralysis. They want to see the entire staircase before they take the first step. They want guarantees, blueprints, and detailed instructions before they're willing to commit to their vision. But that's not how creation works. The universe doesn't reveal the full path up front, because if it did, you'd probably be too intimidated to start. Instead, it reveals the path one step at a time, and each step only becomes visible after you've taken the previous one. The how is handled behind the scenes in ways your logical mind could never predict or plan. Think about the greatest breakthroughs in your life. Did you see them coming? Did you plan exactly how they would unfold? Probably not. They emerged from unexpected places, through surprise connections, through opportunities that appeared when you were focused on something else entirely. That's the universe handling the how for you. When you stop trying to control every detail and instead focus all your energy on maintaining a clear vision of what you want, you free up the universe to work its magic through channels you never would have considered. This represents a fundamental shift from struggle to creation. Struggle happens when you're trying to force outcomes, when you're pushing and fighting and attempting to make things happen through sheer willpower. Creation happens when you plant the seed of your desire in the fertile soil of your mind, water it with emotion and faith, and then trust the natural growth process. You don't dig up the seed every day to check if it's growing. You don't stress about exactly which direction the roots will grow or which nutrients the plant will absorb. You trust the process because that's how nature works. Right here, right now, this is your starting point, the moment where you stop being tossed around by circumstances and start taking control of your internal world. For too long, you've probably felt like a victim of your financial situation, believing that external forces determine your destiny. The economy, your job, your upbringing, your education, all these things seemed like they had power over you. But that was an illusion. The only real power has always been within you, in your ability to choose your thoughts, direct your focus, and maintain your vision regardless of what's happening around you. You're no longer a passive recipient of whatever life throws at you. You're a conscious creator, deliberately shaping your reality through the power of your mind. This isn't arrogance or wishful thinking. It's recognizing the fundamental truth that everything you need to create wealth already exists within you right now. The creativity, the resilience, the intelligence, the intuition, it's all there. You don't need to acquire anything external. You just need to activate what's already present and align it with your vision. The beauty of this realization is that it removes all excuses. You can't blame your circumstances anymore because you understand that circumstances are effects, not causes. You can't wait for the perfect moment because you understand that you create the perfect moment by deciding it's perfect. You can't postpone your transformation because you understand that transformation begins the instant you choose it. Everything shifts when you recognize that control doesn't come from manipulating the external world, but from mastering your internal world. This is the hidden truth that separates those who achieve extraordinary wealth from those who spend their lives wishing for it. The achievers aren't smarter or luckier. They've simply discovered that the power to create their desired reality lives inside them, not outside. They've learned to trust the process, to maintain their vision without needing to control every detail, and to act as conscious creators rather than helpless victims. If you're ready to claim this level of control over your financial destiny, write in the comments, "I am the creator of my wealth." Let me share with you one of the most profound truths you'll ever encounter about wealth creation. Every single thought that you sustain with genuine faith, every mental image that you hold consistently in your consciousness, eventually converts into visible, tangible reality. This isn't philosophy or metaphor. This is describing the actual mechanism through which your inner world creates your outer world. The external circumstances you see around you right now, your bank balance, your living situation, your opportunities, all of it is merely a projection of the internal images you've been holding in your mind, often unconsciously for months or years. What this means in practical terms is revolutionary. If you change what you hold in your mind, you automatically change what you see in your life. Not eventually, not someday, but systematically and predictably. The lag time between internal shift and external manifestation varies depending on how deeply rooted your old patterns are and how consistently you maintain your new vision, but the correlation is absolute. Your outer world has no choice but to reorganize itself around your inner world because that's how this system works. You're not trying to convince reality to change. You're simply updating the blueprint, and reality conforms to match it. Most people have this backwards. They're waiting for their circumstances to improve before they allow themselves to think differently, to feel abundant, to see themselves as wealthy. They say things like, "I'll believe it when I see it," but that approach guarantees they'll never see it. The great secret that wealthy individuals understand, whether consciously or intuitively, is that faith must come before evidence. You must believe in your internal image before others believe in you, before the money shows up, before the opportunities manifest. This is the exact opposite of how you've been taught to operate, and it's precisely why most people never break through to real abundance. Think about what faith really means in this context. It's not blind hope or wishful thinking. Faith is the willingness to act on your vision even when your current circumstances seem to contradict it. Faith is continuing to hold your mental image of wealth even when your bank account looks empty. Faith is speaking, thinking, and moving as the person you're becoming rather than the person you've been. This requires courage because you're essentially declaring a new reality before the old one has released its grip. You're standing in the gap between what was and what will be, and that gap can feel uncomfortable, even scary. But here's what happens when you develop this kind of faith. You stop being dependent on external validation to feel worthy of abundance. You stop waiting for permission from the world to step into your financial potential. You stop postponing your transformation until conditions are perfect, because you realize that perfect conditions are created by your decision, not discovered by your searching. The moment you commit to your internal vision with unwavering faith, regardless of what your circumstances currently show, you become unstoppable. Not because circumstances can't challenge you, but because circumstances no longer define you. This is the turning point where everything accelerates. When you truly grasp that you don't need to wait, that you can start building wealth consciousness right now by changing your internal images, the entire game changes. You stop being reactive and become proactive. You stop being a thermometer that merely reflects the temperature of your environment and become a thermostat that sets the temperature. Your faith in what you cannot yet see becomes stronger than your doubt about what you can see. And that's when the invisible starts becoming visible. The impact of this shift cannot be measured just in financial terms. When you learn to have faith in your internal vision before the external evidence appears, you develop a kind of confidence that transforms every area of your life. You walk differently, speak differently, make decisions differently. People sense something has changed in you, even if they can't articulate what it is. Opportunities begin gravitating toward you because you're emanating a different frequency. the frequency of someone who knows their value and expects abundance as a natural state. If you're ready to embrace faith before evidence and commit to your internal vision, let me know by commenting, "Faith creates my evidence." Now let me share with you a powerful metaphor that will help you understand exactly how this process works. When you plant a seed in soil, something fascinating happens. That seed sits in complete darkness, buried beneath the surface where you can't see it, and for days or even weeks, nothing appears to be happening. To an impatient observer, it looks like nothing's working, but beneath the surface, invisible to the eye, an entire transformation is taking place. Roots are spreading, cells are multiplying, life force is organizing itself. The seed knows exactly what to do, but it requires one critical element to complete its journey: consistent watering. Your mental images work exactly the same way. Every time you repeat a vision with genuine conviction, every time you hold a clear picture of wealth in your mind with emotion and belief, you're planting a seed in the fertile soil of your subconscious. That seed immediately begins working beneath the surface of your conscious awareness. It starts reorganizing your perceptions, redirecting your attention, shifting your decisions, and attracting circumstances that align with it. But just like a physical seed, it requires daily watering. That water is your attention, your focus, your consistent return to that mental image, regardless of what's happening in your external world. This is where most people abandon their dreams. They plant the seed with enthusiasm. Maybe they water it for a few days when they're feeling motivated, but then they stop. They get distracted, they get discouraged by the lack of immediate results, they start doubting whether anything's really happening. And just like a seed that's planted but not watered, their vision withers before it ever has a chance to break through the surface. The tragedy is that they often give up right before the breakthrough would have occurred, right before all that invisible work beneath the surface was about to become visible above it. Here's what you need to understand about the relationship between mental images and action. We live in a culture that worships busyness, that glorifies constant action, that makes you feel guilty if you're not always doing something. But the hidden truth is that 1,000 directionless actions won't create nearly the results of one clear, firmly held mental image. When you're taking action without a strong internal vision guiding it, you're basically running in circles, expending massive energy but making little progress. You're busy but not effective, active but not aligned. The real power comes when you reverse the order. First, you create absolute clarity in your mental image. You see with precision exactly what you want. You feel it as though it's already real. You hold that vision with such firmness that it becomes more real to you than your current circumstances. Then, and only then, do you take action. But now, your actions are completely different. They're inspired rather than forced, strategic rather than scattered, powerful rather than desperate. You're not taking action to try to make something happen. You're taking action because your clear mental image is naturally pulling the right moves out of you. Think about the difference this makes in practical terms. Someone without a clear mental vision might work 18 hours a day, bouncing from one opportunity to another, trying everything, mastering nothing, exhausted and frustrated. Someone with a crystal-clear mental vision might work half those hours but accomplish 10 times the results because every action they take is aligned with their internal blueprint. They're not guessing or hoping. They're executing a vision that's already complete in their mind and simply transferring it into physical reality through focused, deliberate action. This is why maintaining your mental image daily is absolutely non-negotiable. It's not something you do when you feel like it or when you remember. It's a discipline, a practice, a commitment you make to yourself and your future. Just 10 or 15 minutes each day, sitting quietly, seeing your vision, feeling it, breathing it, making it more real in your mind than the bills on your desk or the balance in your account. That daily watering is what keeps the seed alive beneath the surface, ensuring that all that invisible work continues until the moment it breaks through into manifestation. If you're committed to watering your mental seeds daily with focused attention, write in the comments, "I nurture my vision every day." There's a pattern I see constantly, and it's heartbreaking because it's so unnecessary. Someone discovers these principles, gets excited about the possibility of transforming their financial life, and starts practicing visualization with genuine enthusiasm. They create their mental images, they feel the emotions, they do everything right for maybe 3 days, maybe a week if they're particularly disciplined. Then they look at their bank account, see that nothing has changed yet, and immediately conclude that it doesn't work. They abandon the practice entirely and go back to their old patterns, never realizing how close they might have been to a breakthrough. This is the equivalent of planting a seed in your garden, watering it for 2 days, then digging it up on the 3rd day to check if it's sprouted yet. When you don't see a plant, you throw the seed away and declare that gardening is a scam. It sounds ridiculous when I put it that way, doesn't it? Yet this is exactly what most people do with their mental and financial transformation. They expect instant results from a process that by its very nature requires time for invisible work to become visible manifestation. The impatient mind will always fail, not because the principles don't work, but because impatience itself is a form of doubt that undermines the entire process. Impatience is really just disguised fear. It's your ego panicking, saying, "I need proof right now that this is working, or I'm going back to what's familiar." But transformation doesn't operate on your ego's timeline. It operates according to natural laws that unfold at their own pace. The seed doesn't sprout faster because you're anxious about it. In fact, if you keep digging it up to check on it, you guarantee it will never grow. The same applies to your mental seeds. When you constantly check your circumstances for evidence, when you let doubt creep in because you haven't seen results in a few days, you're essentially uprooting your vision before it has time to develop roots. Now let me take you deeper into something that will completely reframe how you approach change. There's a fundamental principle of causation that most people have backwards, and it's costing them everything. They believe that the outer world, their circumstances, their bank account, their opportunities, is the cause of their inner experience. They think, when my circumstances improve, then I'll feel abundant. When I have more money, then I'll be confident. When opportunities appear, then I'll believe in myself. But this is inverted. It's the exact opposite of how reality actually works. The inner world is always the cause. The outer world is always the effect. Your thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and mental images are creating your circumstances, not the other way around. When you finally grasp this, I mean really grasp it, at a level deeper than intellectual understanding, everything shifts. You realize that trying to change your circumstances directly is like trying to change your reflection by manipulating the mirror. It's futile. The only way to change what you see in the mirror is to change what's standing in front of it. The only way to change your outer circumstances is to change your inner state. This revelation eliminates so much wasted effort and frustration. How much time have you spent trying to fix your circumstances, trying to force opportunities, trying to manipulate your way into better financial situations? All of that energy was directed at the effect rather than the cause. It's like trying to heat your house by holding a match up to the thermostat. You're addressing the symptom instead of the source. But when you redirect that energy toward transforming your inner world, toward changing your beliefs, purifying your mental images, and elevating your emotional frequency, the outer world has no choice but to transform in response. The beauty of understanding this cause and effect relationship is that it puts all the power back in your hands. You're no longer dependent on external circumstances cooperating with you. You're no longer waiting for the economy to improve, for your boss to recognize your value, for the perfect opportunity to fall into your lap. You recognize that all of those external factors are effects that will automatically align once you've changed the cause, which is your internal state. This is why I keep emphasizing that you must start with your mind, not with your circumstances. Your mind is the lever that moves everything else. If you're beginning to see how causation really works, and you're ready to focus on changing the cause rather than fighting the effects, share in the comments, "I change from within first." There's something lurking beneath the surface in almost everyone who struggles financially, and it's rarely talked about because it's uncomfortable to confront. It's not a lack of intelligence, it's not insufficient skills, and it's not even a shortage of opportunities. The real obstacle is something far more insidious. Deep down, many people simply don't believe they deserve wealth. They might consciously say they want it, they might take actions toward it, but buried in their subconscious is a quiet voice whispering that abundance isn't meant for them, that they're somehow not worthy of financial freedom. Where did this programming come from? Most of it was installed during childhood, long before you had the critical thinking skills to question it. You heard messages about money being scarce, about rich people being greedy, about the virtue of struggle and sacrifice. You were taught to conform, to fit in, to not want too much, to be grateful for the scraps. These weren't malicious teachings. The people who programmed you with these beliefs genuinely thought they were protecting you, preparing you for a harsh world. But what they actually did was install limitations in your mind that have been operating like invisible prison bars ever since. Here's what you need to understand with absolute clarity. Your mind is not a slave to your environment. Your mind is the creator of your environment. Everything you see around you right now, every circumstance you're experiencing exists because some part of you accepted it as appropriate, as deserved, as what someone like you should have. The moment you decide you deserve more, the moment you genuinely feel worthy of abundance at a core level, your environment begins reorganizing itself to match that new self-concept. But you can't fake this. Your subconscious knows the difference between what you're saying and what you truly believe. The transformation from unworthiness to deservingness isn't something you achieve through affirmations alone, though they help. It comes from a deeper recognition that wealth isn't a reward for being special or better than others. Wealth is simply energy flowing to those who are open to receive it. You don't have to earn the right to breathe air or feel sunshine on your face. These things flow to you naturally because you exist. Money can flow the same way once you remove the internal blocks that are stopping it. Those blocks aren't put there by the universe. They're put there by you through beliefs you accepted without question. Now let me explain how sustained thought works in practical terms, because this is where theory becomes tangible results. When you hold a clear image of your realized desire consistently over time, you're not just daydreaming, you're broadcasting a signal that reaches into what some call the quantum field, the realm of infinite possibility, where all potential futures exist simultaneously. That sustained image acts like a beacon, attracting the specific people, opportunities, resources, and circumstances necessary to make your vision real in the physical world. This isn't mystical thinking. It's understanding that your brain is constantly filtering billions of pieces of information every second, deciding what's relevant and what to ignore. When you sustain a clear mental image of wealth and success, you're literally reprogramming your brain's filtering system. Suddenly, you start noticing opportunities that were always there but invisible to you before. You start making connections between ideas that seemed unrelated. You start taking actions that feel inspired, rather than forced. All of this happens automatically once you've installed the right program through sustained visualization. The key word here is sustained, not occasional, not when you feel motivated, not when things are going well. Sustained means every single day, regardless of your current circumstances. In fact, the worse your circumstances appear, the more critical it becomes to maintain your vision. This is the ultimate test of your commitment. Can you hold the image of abundance when your bank account says otherwise? Can you visualize success when everything around you seems to contradict it? This isn't denial of reality. This is understanding that your current reality is just the manifestation of your past thinking, and your future reality is being created by what you're thinking and visualizing right now. The journey from where you are to where you want to be isn't about manipulating circumstances. It's about maintaining an unwavering internal vision until external reality has no choice but to conform. If you're ready to claim your worthiness and commit to sustaining your vision daily, no matter what, write in the comments, "I deserve and sustain my abundance." Let's address the elephant in the room, the real reason why most people never achieve the wealth they desire despite understanding these principles. It's not because the principles don't work. It's because doubt creeps in, self-sabotage takes over, and consistency crumbles. You see, knowing what to do and actually doing it consistently are two completely different things. The gap between knowledge and application is where dreams go to die, and that gap is filled with doubt, fear, and that persistent inner voice that questions whether you're really capable of transformation. Doubt is perhaps the most insidious enemy of wealth creation because it operates quietly in the background. You might not even recognize it as doubt. It disguises itself as being realistic, as being practical, as protecting yourself from disappointment. But what it's really doing is sabotaging your vision before it has time to materialize. Every time doubt whispers, "This probably won't work for me," every time you question whether you're doing it right, every time you check your bank account with that sinking feeling, you're essentially watering the weeds instead of watering the flowers. You're feeding the very patterns you're trying to eliminate. The antidote to doubt isn't hope or wishful thinking. It's persistent thought combined with concrete practices that anchor your vision in both your conscious and subconscious mind. This is where writing becomes an incredibly powerful tool. When you write out your vision by hand, something magical happens. You're engaging multiple parts of your brain simultaneously. You're taking what's abstract and making it concrete. You're creating a physical record of your mental image that you can return to, refine, and reinforce. Write out your financial goals in present tense as though they're already accomplished. Describe in vivid detail what your abundant life looks like, feels like, sounds like. Make it so real on paper that your subconscious can't distinguish between the written vision and actual memory. Daily meditation serves a different but equally crucial function. While writing externalizes your vision, meditation internalizes it. When you sit quietly each day and visualize your desired reality with full emotional engagement, you're creating new neural pathways that make abundance thinking automatic rather than forced. You're training your mind to default to prosperity consciousness instead of scarcity consciousness. The consistency of this practice matters far more than the duration. 15 minutes of focused visualization every single day will create more transformation than an hour of sporadic practice whenever you feel motivated. Now, I want to introduce you to something that might feel uncomfortable at first, but becomes extraordinarily powerful with repetition. Affirmations aren't just positive statements you repeat mindlessly. They're commands to your subconscious, instructions that rewire your identity at a fundamental level. But they must be crafted correctly and spoken with conviction. When you say, "I am deserving of infinite abundance," you're not lying to yourself. You're declaring a truth that your current circumstances haven't yet reflected. You're speaking to who you're becoming, not who you've been. Try these affirmations and feel the shift they create in your energy. Everything I need is already coming to me. Notice how this removes anxiety about the future while creating expectation. My mind is a channel of constant wealth. This reframes your relationship with money from chasing it to receiving it. I am the source of my abundance. This eliminates dependency on external circumstances and places power exactly where it belongs, within you. The key is repetition with feeling. Don't just say the words, feel them resonating in your chest, activating something dormant, awakening that part of you that knows these statements are true, even if your bank account hasn't caught up yet. The transformation that occurs through persistent thought, writing, meditation, and affirmations isn't instant, but it's inevitable if you maintain the practice. Your subconscious mind is being reprogrammed line by line, belief by belief. The old operating system that kept you stuck is being overwritten with new code that makes wealth creation natural and effortless. But this only works if you're persistent, if you show up every day, regardless of how you feel or what your circumstances show. If you're committing to this daily practice of persistent thought and affirmation, share in the comments, "I persistently reprogram my abundance." There's a principle here that goes against everything you've been taught since childhood, and it's the single most important key to unlocking wealth. You've been conditioned to believe that seeing is believing, that you need proof before you can have faith, that evidence must precede conviction. But the law of manifestation operates in exactly the opposite direction. Wealth doesn't arrive when you have all your ducks in a row, when you've figured out every detail, when you can see the clear path ahead. Wealth arrives when you believe without seeing, when you have faith without evidence, when you're willing to act on your vision even when every logical indicator tells you it's not there yet. This is where most people get stuck in an endless waiting game. They say they believe, but what they really mean is they'll believe once they see some proof. They're willing to have faith once circumstances give them a reason to. But that's not faith at all. That's just responding to evidence, which requires no courage, no transformation, no leap into the unknown. Real faith, the kind that creates wealth, is the willingness to believe in your abundance when your bank account is empty. It's the ability to see yourself as prosperous when everyone around you sees you as struggling. It's maintaining absolute certainty in your vision when nothing in your physical reality supports it yet. Think about every major breakthrough in human history. Someone had to believe in something impossible before anyone else could see it. The Wright brothers believed humans could fly when everyone else thought it was fantasy. Entrepreneurs believe in businesses before they exist. Inventors believe in solutions before they're created. In every case, belief came first and manifestation followed. Never the other way around. This is a law as dependable as gravity, but it only works for those brave enough to believe before seeing. Now let me reveal something that will completely change how you look at your financial situation. Everything in your external world, every single thing, is an exact reflection of your internal world. Your bank account isn't some random number affected by forces beyond your control. It's a precise, temporary photograph of your deepest beliefs about money. It's showing you what you truly believe you're worth, what you genuinely expect to have, what you've accepted as appropriate for someone like you. If you don't like what that photograph shows, getting angry at the photograph does nothing. You need to change what's being photographed, which is your internal belief system, this invisible map that guides your financial. Life has been drawn by years of accumulated thoughts, feelings, and beliefs about money. Every experience you've had with money, every message you absorbed from parents or society, every success and failure has added lines to this map. And right now, you're navigating your financial life using this map, probably without even realizing it exists. The map tells you where you can go, what's available to you, what's off limits, what's dangerous. But here's the revelation. This map isn't reality. It's just a representation you've created based on past programming, and like any map, it can be redrawn. When you look at wealthy people, you're not seeing people who found a better external map. You're seeing people who drew a different internal map. Their beliefs about money, about possibility, about their own worth, created a completely different landscape of opportunities. They're not navigating the same terrain you are because they're not operating from the same internal blueprint. The beautiful and slightly frustrating truth is that two people can exist in the exact same external circumstances, but experience completely different realities based solely on their internal maps. Your current bank balance is telling you a story, but it's a story about your past beliefs, not your future potential. It's showing you where your old map led you, but it says absolutely nothing about where your new map can take you. The moment you understand that your external finances are just a temporary reflection, a lag effect of your internal state, you stop being imprisoned by current circumstances. You realize that you can start redrawing your internal map right now. And as you do, your external reality will begin shifting to match it, not instantly, but inevitably. This is why belief before seeing is so crucial. You must be willing to redraw your internal map based on your vision rather than your current circumstances. You must be willing to believe in your new financial reality before it shows up in your bank account. If you're ready to redraw your internal map and believe in abundance before seeing it, write in the comments, "I believe before I see." Let me explain the exact mechanism through which your thoughts transform into the beliefs that run your entire financial life. A thought, when you first have it, is just a fleeting electrical impulse in your brain. It comes and goes without much impact. But when you maintain that thought with sufficient intensity, when you return to it again and again with emotional energy and consistent focus, something remarkable happens. That thought begins to carve neural pathways in your brain, creating actual physical changes in your neurological structure. What started as a whisper becomes a groove, and that groove becomes a highway. Eventually, that thought transforms into a belief, a mental pattern so deeply embedded that it guides your actions, perceptions, and decisions without you even realizing it's operating. This is why your beliefs are so powerful and simultaneously so invisible. They're running in the background of your consciousness like software code, determining what you notice, what opportunities you pursue, what risks you take, and what results you expect. You're not consciously thinking about these beliefs moment to moment, yet they're shaping every financial decision you make. Someone with the belief that money is scarce will make completely different choices than someone with the belief that money flows abundantly. They'll see different opportunities in the same situation, take different actions with the same information, and create different results from the same starting point. The hidden truth here is that you're not stuck with the beliefs you currently have. Every belief you hold right now, no matter how deeply rooted it feels, was created through this exact same process of repeated thought. If limiting beliefs were installed through repetition in the past, then empowering beliefs can be installed through intentional repetition in the present. This is where you reclaim your power as the architect of your own mind. You're not a victim of your programming, you're the programmer, and you can choose to write new code. Now let me share something that might seem too simple to be powerful, but it's absolutely revolutionary when you apply it consistently. There's a phrase, just 4 words, that acts like dynamite placed at the foundation of your limiting belief system. Those 4 words are, "I can have more." That's it, not "I wish I could have more," or "maybe someday I'll have more," or "if circumstances change, I might have more." Just the simple, declarative statement, "I can have more." When you dare to sustain this thought, When you repeat it with conviction day after day, your entire being begins seeking coherence with it. Here's what happens behind the scenes when you consistently hold this idea. Your subconscious mind, which has been operating under the assumption that your current level is your limit, suddenly receives a new directive. It starts questioning the old boundaries. It begins noticing possibilities it filtered out before. Your reticular activating system, the part of your brain that decides what's important enough to pay attention to, recalibrates itself. Opportunities that were always present but invisible to you suddenly become obvious. Ideas that would have seemed impossible before now feel achievable. Resources that were always available but overlooked now appear right in front of you. This isn't magic or wishful thinking. This is understanding that your brain is a pattern recognition machine, and it finds what you tell it to look for. When your dominant pattern is, "I'm limited to what I currently have," your brain dutifully finds evidence to support that pattern. But when you shift to, "I can have more," your brain immediately begins searching for evidence to support this new pattern instead. The external world hasn't changed, but your perception of it transforms completely, and perception is what creates your experience of reality. The impact of sustaining this one simple idea ripples through every area of your financial life. You start speaking differently about money. You make bolder decisions. You take actions you would have avoided before. You negotiate differently. You present yourself differently. You pursue opportunities you would have dismissed. All of this happens naturally, not because you're forcing it, but because your belief system has shifted and your actions automatically align with your beliefs. This is the power of changing thoughts into beliefs through persistent, intentional repetition. If you're ready to embrace this simple but explosive idea and sustain it until it transforms your reality, write in the comments, "I can have more." There's something I need to address that might make you uncomfortable, but it's absolutely essential if you're serious about wealth. You can't desire money and simultaneously fear it. You can't pursue abundance while harboring deep resentment toward those who have it. Yet this is exactly the contradiction most people carry without even realizing it. They want wealth, but they're not at peace with wealth, and that internal conflict sabotages every attempt they make to build prosperity. The only way to genuinely attract something is to feel completely at peace with having it, and for most people, that requires a deep cleaning of inherited beliefs they've been carrying since childhood. Think about the messages you absorbed growing up. Maybe you heard that money is the root of all evil, that rich people are greedy or corrupt, that having wealth means someone else has to do without, that it's somehow more virtuous to struggle than to prosper. These beliefs weren't necessarily spoken directly to you. Often, they were transmitted through subtle cues, through the way your parents talked about wealthy people, through the underlying assumptions in your culture or community, and because you absorbed these beliefs at such a young age, before you developed critical thinking skills, they settled into your subconscious as unquestioned truths. Now here's the problem. You can't fully commit to creating something that you've been programmed to see as negative or dangerous. It's like trying to drive with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. Part of you wants wealth, but another part operating from these inherited beliefs is actively resisting it because it views wealth as threatening to your identity, your relationships, or your moral standing. This internal war creates the self-sabotage patterns that keep people stuck regardless of how hard they work or how much knowledge they acquire. The liberation comes when you realize that these beliefs aren't yours. You inherited them, which means you can choose to release them. Money is neutral. It's not good or evil, spiritual or unspiritual. It's simply a tool, energy in physical form that flows to those who are open to receiving it. Wealthy people aren't better or worse than anyone else. They're simply people who removed the internal blocks to receiving. When you clean out these inherited beliefs and replace them with peace around prosperity, everything shifts. You stop apologizing for wanting abundance. You stop feeling guilty when opportunities come your way. You start allowing yourself to receive without the internal resistance that used to push it away. Now let me give you a practical technique that will help you identify and transform these limiting beliefs in real time. It's a three-step process that becomes more powerful the more consistently you practice it. First, observe your thoughts about money without judgment. Just notice them. When you think about your finances, what thoughts automatically arise? Write them down exactly as they appear. Second, question these thoughts. Ask yourself, is this actually true? Or is this just something I inherited? Where did this belief come from? Is it serving my highest good? This questioning breaks the unconscious acceptance that keeps beliefs in place. Third, and this is crucial, substitute each limiting thought with an abundance-aligned affirmation that feels true at a deeper level. Let me show you how this works in practice. If you catch yourself thinking, money doesn't last, pause and question it. Is that universally true, or is that just reflecting your past? Experience based on old beliefs, then consciously substitute it with a new thought. Money circulates through my life and returns multiplied. If you think, I'm not good with money, question whether that's an inherent truth or just a story you've told yourself. Then replace it with, I'm learning to manage money with wisdom and confidence. If the thought, there's never enough, arises, challenge it and substitute, abundance is my natural state, and resources flow to me easily. The key here isn't to deny reality or pretend everything's perfect when it's not. The key is to recognize that your thoughts about money are creating your experience of money, and you have the power to choose different thoughts. Each time you catch a limiting belief and consciously substitute it with an empowering one, you're literally rewiring your brain. You're building new neural pathways that support wealth creation instead of blocking it. This isn't a one-time exercise. It's a daily practice, a moment-by-moment choice to clean out the old programming and install new software that serves your vision. If you're committed to this practice of observing, questioning, and substituting your money thoughts, share below. I'm cleaning my mental programming now. Let me share with you one of the most empowering truths you'll ever hear about your mind. Your mind isn't just a storage container for thoughts and memories. It's fertile ground, rich soil, where absolutely anything can grow depending on what you choose to plant. Right now, that soil is producing results based on seeds that were planted months or years ago, many of them planted unconsciously, many inherited from others. But here's your power. Every single morning when you wake up, you have a fresh opportunity to choose new seeds. You can decide whether today you're going to plant thoughts of scarcity or abundance, limitation or possibility, fear or faith. Most people wake up and immediately start replanting the same seeds they planted yesterday. They think the same thoughts, replay the same worries, reinforce the same limitations. Then they wonder why their garden looks identical year after year. But you're not most people, or you wouldn't still be here listening to this. You understand that transformation isn't some distant goal. It's a daily decision, a morning-by-morning choice to plant different seeds in the fertile ground of your consciousness. When you wake up tomorrow, before you check your phone, before you start worrying about bills, before you fall into your default patterns, you have a moment of pure potential where you can consciously choose what you're going to cultivate in your mind that day. This daily reprogramming isn't about denying reality or pretending problems don't exist. It's about recognizing that the quality of your thinking determines the quality of your life far more than the circumstances you're currently dealing with. You could have two people wake up in identical situations. Same bank balance, same challenges, same opportunities. One person spends the morning dwelling on everything that's wrong, everything that's lacking, all the reasons things won't work out. The other spends those same minutes visualizing abundance, affirming their capacity to create wealth, holding images of their desired reality. By the time they both leave the house, they're living in completely different worlds. Not because their circumstances changed, but because their mental frameworks are operating from opposite paradigms. Now here's where this gets really practical, and it's something that flies in the face of everything you've been taught. Your financial life doesn't change because you try harder. It doesn't transform because you work longer hours or push yourself to the point of exhaustion. Those things might create temporary results, but lasting financial transformation comes from thinking better, not working harder. When you upgrade your thinking, when you cultivate a more sophisticated understanding of how wealth actually works, when you align your thoughts with abundance rather than scarcity, everything else falls into place naturally. The actions you take become more effective, the opportunities you notice become more valuable, the results you create become exponentially greater. This shift begins by drawing an entirely new mental map, one where money isn't this external force you have to chase or beg for, but rather a natural reflection of your inner power. When you see money as something outside yourself that you lack, you're operating from a position of weakness. You're positioning yourself as the beggar and money as the reluctant giver. But when you understand that money is simply energy responding to the frequency you're broadcasting, that it flows naturally toward those who embody abundance consciousness, that it's attracted to confidence and repelled by desperation, everything changes. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop begging and start commanding. You stop hoping and start expecting. The journey from financial struggle to financial freedom isn't primarily about learning new skills or finding better opportunities, though those things help. It's about fundamentally changing your relationship with money by changing the mental map you're operating from. It's about recognizing that poverty and wealth aren't created by external circumstances, but by the internal landscape you've cultivated. When you accept full responsibility for that landscape and commit to reshaping it through better thinking rather than harder struggling, you step into a completely different game with completely different rules and completely different outcomes. If you're ready to embrace this truth and commit to better thinking over harder trying, let me know in the comments. I choose better thinking today. There's a crucial distinction I need you to understand because it changes everything about how you approach wealth. Most people are searching for a map to riches in the external world. They're looking for the right business model, the perfect investment strategy, the secret opportunity that will finally unlock prosperity. They're convinced that somewhere out there, if they just search hard enough, they'll find the path to financial freedom. But they're looking in the wrong place entirely. The map toward wealth isn't outside you, waiting to be discovered. It's inside you, waiting to be developed. This internal map is invisible to most people because they've never been taught to look inward for financial guidance. They've been conditioned to seek external solutions to what is fundamentally an internal challenge. But those who have achieved genuine, lasting wealth understand that there's a guidance system within them, an inner knowing that becomes clearer the more they train their inner vision. This isn't mystical intuition, though it might feel that way at times. It's the natural result of aligning your conscious desires with your subconscious programming so thoroughly that your entire being moves in harmony toward wealth creation. When your internal map is clear, when you've trained your mind to recognize abundance rather than scarcity, opportunities appear that others completely miss. You make decisions that seem risky to outsiders but feel certain to you. You take actions that look like luck from the outside, but are actually precise responses to internal guidance. This map guides you unerringly toward flowing money because it's not based on external circumstances that constantly change. It's based on internal principles that remain constant regardless of what's happening in the economy, the stock market, or your industry. Now, I want to reveal something that might sound obvious once I say it, but most people never fully grasp its implications. Money doesn't multiply in your bank account first and then show up in your mind. It multiplies in your mind first, and then that mental multiplication manifests as physical multiplication in your account. This is the hidden sequence that wealthy people understand intuitively. They see themselves as rich before the riches arrive. They feel abundant before the abundance manifests. They multiply their money mentally through visualization and belief before it multiplies materially through investments and income. Here's what's happening behind the scenes that you need to understand. You have a creation system running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This system never stops operating. It's constantly taking your dominant thoughts, beliefs, and mental images and translating them into physical reality. The problem isn't that your creation system is broken. The problem is that you've been using it against yourself without realizing it. When you think thoughts of lack, your creation system faithfully creates more lack. When you visualize struggle, it produces more struggle. When you expect limitation, it delivers limitation. The system is working perfectly. It's just been programmed with the wrong instructions. This revelation should be both sobering and exciting. Sobering because it means you've been actively creating your current financial situation, even the parts you don't like. Exciting because it means you have complete power to create a different financial situation by changing what you're feeding into your creation system. The transformation doesn't require you to learn some complex new skill or wait for external conditions to improve. It simply requires you to become conscious of what you're creating with your thoughts and deliberately choose to create something different. Every time you visualize abundance in your mind, you're multiplying money at the causal level. Every time you think thoughts of prosperity, you're planting seeds that will grow into material wealth. Every time you feel gratitude for what you have while expecting more to come, you're activating your creation system in support of your financial goals rather than in opposition to them. The shift from unconscious creation to conscious creation is the difference between hoping for wealth and systematically building it. If you're beginning to see how your creation system has been working and you're ready to consciously direct it toward abundance, write in the comments, "I consciously create my wealth." Let me show you something that will fundamentally change how you relate to your own thinking. Every single thought you have isn't just a passive observation or random mental chatter floating through your consciousness. Each thought is an actual order, a concrete instruction being delivered to your subconscious mind and, by extension, to the universe around you. When you think, "I can't afford that," you're not just commenting on your current financial state. You're issuing a command to your creation system to maintain that limitation. When you think money is hard to come by, you're programming your perceptual filters to overlook easy opportunities and focus on obstacles instead. This is why misdirected thoughts create so much frustration and struggle. It's not that you're unlucky or that the world is against you. It's that you've been unknowingly issuing orders that create the exact circumstances you're complaining about. Your subconscious doesn't judge your orders as good or bad. It simply executes them with perfect precision. Every trace you make on your mental map, through repetitive thinking, becomes a pathway that your life follows. If those traces have been leading toward limitation, your life has been following that route faithfully. But here's the transformative part. The moment you begin reprogramming those thoughts, The moment you start issuing different orders, your life's entire direction shifts. The impact of this realization cannot be overstated. You're not powerless. You're not stuck. You're simply operating a powerful system with outdated instructions. Update the instructions, and the system produces different results. This isn't about positive thinking for the sake of feeling good. This is about recognizing that your thoughts are functional commands that shape reality, and taking responsibility for what you're commanding into existence. When you grasp that every thought is either building the wealth you desire or reinforcing the limitation you're trying to escape, you become extraordinarily careful about what you allow to loop through your mind. Now, I want to go even deeper into something that most people completely underestimate, and that's the power of language, both spoken and silent. What you say, even in the privacy of your own mind, becomes prophecy. This isn't poetic metaphor. This is describing the actual mechanism through which your words create your reality. Your spoken thoughts, whether voiced aloud or whispered internally, are mental codes that activate specific programs in your subconscious. These programs then direct your attention, shape your decisions, influence your behaviors, and ultimately create the circumstances you experience. This is mental physics, as real and predictable as gravity, not some exaggerated claim designed to sound impressive. Think about the language you use when discussing money. Do you say things like, "I'm broke, I never have enough, money slips through my fingers, I'm terrible with finances"? Each of these statements, spoken casually without thought, is actually a powerful incantation programming your financial reality. Your subconscious hears these words and accepts them as instructions about who you are and what you should experience. It then faithfully creates circumstances that match these self-definitions, because your subconscious's primary job is to prove your beliefs true, whatever those beliefs might be. The hidden truth here is that language isn't just a tool for communication. It's a creative force that shapes consciousness and molds reality. When you understand this, you become incredibly intentional about the words you use to describe yourself and your financial situation. You stop casually throwing around phrases that code poverty into your system. You start using language that activates abundance, that reinforces your vision, that commands your creation system to produce prosperity rather than lack. This isn't about lying or denying problems. It's about refusing to speak your current temporary circumstances into permanent identity. The transformation that occurs when you clean up your language, when you stop prophesying poverty and start declaring abundance, is immediate and profound. People around you sense the shift even if they can't articulate what changed. Opportunities begin appearing because you're no longer broadcasting lack through your words. Your confidence rises because language shapes self-concept, and self-concept determines what you believe you're capable of achieving. If you're ready to become conscious of your language and use it as the creative tool it actually is, share in the comments. My words create my wealth. There's a practice that will feel uncomfortable at first, almost like you're lying to yourself, but it's actually one of the most powerful tools for wealth creation ever discovered. You must declare what you desire as though it already exists, even when your current circumstances show the complete opposite. When your bank account is empty, you declare abundance. When opportunities seem scarce, you declare that they're flowing to you effortlessly. When fear tries to dominate your thinking, you declare certainty and faith. This isn't deception. This is creation at its most fundamental level. You're not lying about what is, you're declaring what will be, and in that declaration you're planting seeds that your subconscious immediately begins nurturing into reality. Most people have this backwards. They wait for evidence before they're willing to declare anything positive. They say, "I'll speak about abundance when I have abundance. I'll talk about success when I've achieved success. I'll declare wealth when my account reflects wealth." But this approach guarantees they'll wait forever, because declaration precedes manifestation, not the other way around. When you declare your desired reality with conviction, something profound happens beneath the surface of your awareness. Your mind immediately begins constructing the conditions necessary for that declaration to become manifest truth. It starts noticing resources you overlooked, recognizing opportunities you filtered out, generating ideas you never considered, and attracting people who can help you achieve what you've declared. This is why affirmations work when done correctly, though most people do them incorrectly. Simply repeating words you don't believe accomplishes nothing. But when you declare your new reality with emotional conviction, as though you're issuing a royal decree that cannot be questioned or reversed, you activate forces within your psyche that have been dormant your entire life. You're essentially announcing to your subconscious, to your body, to your energy field, and to the universe itself what you've decided is true about your life. And all of these systems begin aligning to make that declaration accurate. Now let me reveal something that will completely transform how you understand poverty and wealth. These aren't fixed external conditions that happen to you based on circumstances beyond your control. Poverty and wealth are merely forms of thought, different mental frequencies that create entirely different experiences of reality. Two people can exist in the exact same economic environment, have access to the same resources, face the same challenges, and one will experience poverty while the other experiences wealth. The difference isn't in their circumstances. The difference is in the form their thoughts take, the frequency their mind operates on, the beliefs they hold as true. Your mind isn't just a passive observer that perceives reality as it is. Your mind is an active creator that shapes reality according to its programming. This is the hidden truth that changes everything. When you finally grasp that your mind doesn't just see the world, but actually creates your experience of the world, you stop being a victim of circumstances and become a conscious architect of your life. The external world you're experiencing right now is a perfect mirror of your internal programming. If you don't like what the mirror is showing, you can't change it by attacking the reflection. You change it by reprogramming what's being reflected. The transformation happens when you deliberately program your mind with the correct emotions, the right mental images, and empowering beliefs about money and your relationship to it. When you do this consistently, money begins appearing in your life naturally, not through struggle or force, but through attraction and alignment. You become a financial magnet, drawing wealth toward you through the power of your mental frequency. This isn't wishful thinking or naive optimism. This is understanding that everything in the universe, including money, responds to vibration. And your thoughts and emotions are constantly broadcasting a vibrational signal that either attracts or repels the wealth you desire. The journey from poverty consciousness to wealth consciousness isn't about changing your job, moving to a different city, or waiting for better opportunities. It's about fundamentally reprogramming your mind so that wealth becomes your default frequency rather than an occasional visitor. If you're ready to embrace this truth and become a conscious financial magnet through proper mental programming, let me know by commenting, "I am a magnet for wealth." Let me share with you the missing ingredient that makes the difference between visualization that works and visualization that's just daydreaming. You can think about wealth all day long. You can create perfect mental images. You can repeat affirmations until you're blue in the face. But if there's no emotional charge behind those thoughts, they remain powerless. Your emotions are the fuel that powers your creative engine. They're the catalyst that transforms mental images from wishful thinking into magnetic force. When you think about abundance with genuine excitement, with deep gratitude, with unshakable faith, you're not just thinking anymore. You're creating with the full force of your being. This is why thoughts combined with intense emotional charge manifest so much faster than thoughts alone. The universe doesn't respond to your words or even your visualizations in themselves. It responds to your dominant vibration, and your vibration is determined primarily by your emotional state. When you feel wealthy, when you embody the emotions of abundance, prosperity, and freedom, you're broadcasting a signal that money recognizes and responds to. When you feel lack, worry, and desperation, you're broadcasting a completely different signal that actually repels the wealth you're trying to attract. The universe isn't judging you or withholding from you. It's simply matching your frequency with corresponding circumstances. Most people approach wealth creation backward. They plead with the universe for money. They beg for opportunities. They desperately hope that somehow their circumstances will improve. But pleading and begging come from a place of lack, and lack can only create more lack. The hidden truth is that the universe doesn't respond to pleas. It responds to frequency, to vibration, to the emotional state you're maintaining consistently. When you shift from begging to becoming, when you stop asking for wealth and start embodying it emotionally, everything transforms. You're no longer trying to get something you don't have. You're expressing something you already are. Now I want to take you to the deepest level of this entire conversation, because this is where real mastery begins. You must stop seeing yourself as a spiritual beggar standing outside the gates of abundance, hoping someone will let you in. That entire paradigm is broken. The truth is that you are not separate from abundance. You're not disconnected from the source of all wealth. You are the channel through which wealth flows into manifestation. This isn't arrogance or delusion. This is recognizing your true nature. You're not your name, your job title, your past achievements, or your current bank balance. Those are all temporary expressions. What you actually are is the center point from which the universe expresses itself into physical form. When you understand this at a level deeper than intellectual knowledge, when you feel it in your bones and embody it in your daily life, doors begin opening automatically. Not because you're forcing them open, not because you're working harder or pushing more, but because you've aligned yourself with universal law. You stop depending on external effort as your primary tool and start flowing with the natural abundance that's always been available. You recognize that wealth doesn't come from outside struggling to get in. It comes from inside flowing outward. You're not trying to capture something foreign to your nature. You're allowing your true nature to express itself without the blocks and barriers you've been unconsciously maintaining. This shift, from beggar to channel, from seeker to source, from effort to flow, is the ultimate transformation. When you operate from this understanding, you move through the world differently. You make decisions from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. You take inspired action rather than desperate action. You attract rather than chase. You allow rather than force. And in that allowing, in that recognition of yourself as a channel for universal abundance, wealth begins flowing through you with an ease that would have seemed impossible when you were still operating from the beggar mentality. If you're ready to stop begging and start channeling, to recognize yourself as the source rather than the seeker, write in the comments, "I am the channel of abundance."